look at the Moonology guidance for the new moon in Virgo. As I said, it's on August 27th. We are actually not even in Virgo season as I record this yet. Virgo season is going to come in between August 22nd, 23rd, which will activate this energy of the Virgin Goddess. So that's where I'm getting the inspiration for our goddess energy that we have here on the altar that is embracing all seasons, all phases, and all different aspects. And so we'll talk about that a little more as we go too. But I'm definitely feeling this gorgeous emerald green, this deep green, which for me brings through new growth, but also healing and abundance. And also it's very earthy and grounded. So because this is an earth sign, Virgo, it really is about getting down to business with those practical earthly things. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Now here we have this energy of a time to give rather than take. And we're going to be turning that focus on ourselves and what we are actually giving to our physical selves rather than taking and depleting from those resources. So that's going to shine a light on our health. It's going to shine a light on, steps that we are taking to care for our physical body, this vehicle that moves us about in doing all the things that we're talking about here, manifesting, bringing in new, releasing, shedding, all the different things we do throughout these moon cycles. The reason we're here talking, looking at these cards, none of this would be possible without our physical bodies. So there is a focus on that as well. Here we have this card. I'm really feeling these rolling hills and this energy of trust all will be well. And that comes in, this new moon is going to be, Mars will be active under this new moon. So that helps us, while we're in this earth sign, connect in with some of that fire and passion. It helps us to conquer fears, to take a leap of faith in a direction that we've been wanting to go. However, sometimes when Mars energy is strong, we have to be mindful of acting impulsively, or allowing our temper to get the best of us. So I've seen in multiple areas of the resources I tune into for astrology guidance, the word they're using to describe how these new moon energies can feel is a little harsh. There can be some harshness and some funky energy. Great. Because I don't know about you, but even since the full moon energy started to wane, there's been a little funkiness in the air. There's been some low moods and some energies that have been a little heavy and sticky. So with all of that in mind, we bring in some crystal and healing energy, color and otherwise, to help support us. And what I love for that is this Emerald Renewal and Recovery Spray. This is a beautiful balm. It has this amazing earthy smell. I'm not teasing you, but it does smell amazing. And it's very helpful to soothe and help heal, especially after trying periods. So anyone that's coming through a period of physical illness or something that's been physically taxing, but then also emotional, energetic, this can really help us to get grounded, but it's very refreshing. It reminds me of like a soft, mossy forest floor. And to me, that's just a very healing place. And that's also what those rolling hills are reminding me of. So I'm kind of tuning into that lush emerald green energy. And so with that, I also bring in the emerald. And this is a gorgeous emerald palm stone that I have that I love to bring in for healing. So we have the energy of emerald supporting us as well. And then the other sprays I have here, the bronze energy is for Archangel Sandalphon and our Earth Star chakra. And our Earth Star chakra is the chakra at the base of our feet, our lowest chakra point that literally connects us in with the earth. He is also the Archangel of music. So, anything's possible here. I could sing. There could be shameless music references, although that's par for the course with me, as you know by now. But this is a gorgeous spray, again, for getting rooted, grounded. And what I love about Sandalphon, that energy that you can connect with, is taking these big ideas, taking these passions, taking the leaps of faith and the things that we've been wanting to do and bringing them down to earth and anchoring them in practical ways, ways that make clear for us steps that we can take. And with that and Virgo energy, there's this grounding, there's getting organized, clearing clutter, spending time in nature, all things we can do to help us really tune into that energy. And finally, we have the white light Merkaba spray, which is very cleansing, like almost like a sage energy. It clears out the old funkiness, clears out the dense, heavy energy, and is kind of putting this clarity to it. So those are the sprays that I have. There's other crystals here in the goddesses and the selenite, of course, which I was thinking about that selenite tower and how it almost looks like this, winding way around to this peak, And so again, when we talk about these journeys that we take and the spiral quality of events of coming around again, and from ground level, when you're down there in the muck doing the day to day, it may not feel like you're actually getting anywhere. But when we follow this around, we see that we're ever so slowly making our way up here step by step. And so it's a little perspective gaining too, as far as the progress that has been made. And that is beautifully reflected with our first card, which is the overarching energy of this new moon, growth. And I'm using here again the Queen of the Moon Oracle. I'm talking a lot about the Virgin Goddess energy, but we are actually going to bring in some masculine energy as well. When I pull your individual cards, we're going to use the brother deck to the Queen of the Moon in the Gods and Titans. So we're really going to balance out this the feminine and masculine energies here to really get things into alignment. And that's what I'm feeling for September too. I'm feeling this phrase of September in alignment, realigning. So let's see what we have coming in here with the overarching energies of this moon with this growth. Look at all of those roots. And, whether we're seeing this as, it always kind of looks like planet Earth to me, but whether it's like, doesn't look like an egg, but it's in a nest. It's something that's growing, right? So almost I'm getting like a pearl, like a blue pearl of wisdom, or something that's being cultivated very slowly for you. So, think about these goals, these things that we've been looking to bring into our life, what we're trying to manifest in our life, and think about the nurturing and the cultivation that has been going on, that you have been building bit by bit. And here are all these roots that are so firmly implanted into that, where we have this opportunity to really look at the growth, the expansion, what is coming in. So we'll take a look here and see what the Queen of the Moon Oracle has to say about this energy. The mantra is, I choose growth. And it's saying to reject stagnancy. To get unstuck, take action. Because the choice to grow should be made. Expect growing pains when making huge changes in your life. Change is a natural part of life and cannot be pushed against forever. Change should have aim and purpose. Be courageous and you will blossom. I love when this card comes up because it always reminds me, this is the card that I personally got when I was finally kicked out of the nest and forced to fly 2 years ago when I started my anonymous Instagram page, which was this creative outlet for me, because I read those words, be courageous, you will blossom. And so I love that because we're still riding out these Leo season waves as I record this, right? So we're still being courageous. We're still bringing the fire. We're still being our most authentic selves. And trusting and having faith in the fact that all will be well, new moon in Virgo says. All will be well. So the overarching energy here is talking about having these firm roots, and it's giving us the image of the willow tree and envisioning how the willows often grow in sandy banks, shifty soil, changeable rivers, which is perfect because I've been getting this energy. Yesterday, I was given the song Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, and this energy of what causes a landslide. What is a landslide? When the ground beneath us is shifty and changeable, and yet these firm root systems that we can establish to be unshakable in the face of that which we know will come about, because the seasons will change, right? The phases change, and we're going to experience the ebbs and the flows. And so this is coming to me as another nod to the opportunity to really establish those firm roots and really to root into, again, authentic, true growth in your life. And you do that slowly, deliberately, right? So that's what I'm seeing there. But let's launch in and see where that takes us as we look at the other three cards. And the positions that we have here are, what is rising up for me this new moon, the main message of the new moon, and then the final outcome, what's on the other side. So, I tend to use this deck moon after moon, and this is one of the cards I know many of us have seen before together, and it is called Hunger for the Wolf Moon. And this card speaks of and brings to mind for me the beautiful parable of the Cherokee grandfather and his grandson telling him the story of the two wolves that reside within every human. The dark wolf and the light wolf. And I know that I've shared this with many of you. I will put this in each of your reports because I do have like a static document that actually shares that beautiful parable, because it talks about who's going to win in this battle between the light and the dark wolf that's within. And the grandfather says, the one you feed. But then there's this new caveat to that parable that says, but actually, so, we're saying there, don't feed the dark one because then that's how the dark wins, right? Well, we can't just starve out that wolf to the point that it will then come back with a vengeance. We have to allow that darkness to be seen. So that speaks to shadow. That speaks to those other aspects of self. And I do feel that, in this card here. But when I talk about the energies that I'm feeling for this moon and how it could show up for us through this card, what's rising up, and we talk about the one you feed, right? What are you feeding yourself? Now, on the physical level, when we talk about it being a time to tune into our health, to tune into the messages of our inner world, that can literally be talking about our nourishment, our physical diets, what we're eating, and whether those things are truly nourishing us. But I also get, and this is another analogy that I've shared with some before, about looking at your spiritual diet, your energetic diet, and say, how with your physical diets, the guidance is that the more alkaline your body is, disease cannot thrive. So you don't want to have a very acidic diet. You want to have more alkaline in your diet, right? Well, I had gotten this little epiphany at one point in the past where it was like, what am I ingesting spiritually, energetically? Is it more acidic or alkaline? What is my pH level? Because it's all about the pH level when we talk about alkaline versus acidic. And like I said, for some of you, that could literally be something that you're looking at in your physical diets, but also energetically. This thing that I'm ingesting, so the news I'm looking at, the things I'm taking in online, the conversations, the circles, all those kind of things that I'm taking in, is this thing raising my pH level or lowering it? And for that, I called pH peace and harmony, my peace and harmony factor. And so I know that I have to bring my own peace. I'm not going to get that from the outside, but I'm going to nourish that. So I feel this hunger. What are we hungering for? And I'll tell you another nod that I was just given that was really resonating with me, is my color healing teacher was sharing about this message that was coming through about our attention spans and how much they have shrunken because of online, you know, whether it's social media, just our lifestyles, the quick hits, the fun videos, the TikTok era, like all the different things that have slowly but surely been, you know, shrinking and whittling many of our attention spans. And I felt it myself personally. It's something that I'm very aware of for myself. And I'd like to shift. So I see this here as what's coming in is this, and it's like an alert, a howl, you know, something that like you can't ignore, that's getting louder to say there are some physical things, some just housekeeping items for my physical body that I have an opportunity to nourish, to look at what am I hungering for? What am I feeding myself on all levels? So I'm feeling that as a little nod that comes in. And like I said, when we pull your individual cards, we'll see how that could be highlighting for you. So as we look at the main message, another beautiful card here is the path. And I love that this, again, is this image of ascension. It's climbing up and into this beautiful portal where on the other side, again, kind of like that Lion's Gate energy, we see again this beautiful green, that deep green, lush, connecting in with nature, but also new growth, abundance, expansion, just up here, you know? And so there's this process of sort of contemplating taking those steps. And so when we talk about practical steps, things we can do, and the guidance says, take a leap of faith in a direction that you have been wanting to. Yes, but again, we're not just going to scramble up this ladder. Wrong by wrong, hand over hand, we climb step by step. And we may have to stop and rest for a moment, spend some time on one of the rungs of this ladder as we ascend to continue on our path. And there's this awareness that in itself, the path is the experience. Another message that's come up for me recently was really looking at how oftentimes we get caught up in the end goal, the end point, where we are headed. And that when we do that, you know, when all we're focusing on is where we want to be, and the idea that that place, the end point, right? You've arrived, you are here, is actually such a small part of the process. Okay, now I'm here. Quick. All right, I'm done. You know, like it's the whole process, step by step by step, that gets us there, that is the living, that is the experiencing, the feeling, the growing, the healing. All the things take place on the ladder, along the path, wrong by wrong. So, you know, there's that energy coming in here too. It's funny because I am getting that selenite tower energy again of just kind of noticing from where we've come from too. Because there is such great progress, so that even when we feel frustrated with the lack of progress, with the rate at which it's moving, recognize where you've come from to get to even this point. That maybe you had to build this ladder yourself. You had to gather all the materials to actually make this ladder, and that took a hell of a lot of work. You know, and that is something to be acknowledged, commended, celebrated. Not just the fact that you're still not here. You still haven't done that end point, that thing that you've been striving to get to. Enjoy the journey. I also see that it's card 8, so we still have that beautiful energy of the number 8 being so fortuitous and so abundant for bringing forward so much into, and I do feel literally into our autumn season ahead. So much about what we are harvesting soon to come. So now we look at what is this all leading to at the end of this new moon, or what's on the other side? And we have this card of release. And so there's this cracking open and this openness, and we see all that butterfly energy of transformation of, again, we've been talking about this so much, pack it or scrap it, releasing and letting go of the old, the dense, the heavy, the no longer serving, now we're going to add in the stuff that we're consuming that isn't nourishing us on whatever level. Release, letting go of all of those things. But I'm going to take a look and see what the Queen of the Moon Oracle has to add to that in the release card. So this is a card that says, I freely release what I no longer need. and it says, let it go. Word by word. It is time to release anything that does not serve you. Old negative habits do not engage you anymore, as the payoff is not enough. So the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. We're just going to keep bringing in the example of the lemons, the limes, the alkaline, the pH, the juice that we're consuming, not worth the squeeze for some of this stuff. It's too harsh. It's too acidic. It's not nourishing us. So it talks about the payoff that comes from releasing things, and how that's going to be different for everyone. But yet, overall, the universal result of releasing is making space for something new. When you let go of something that took up an amount of space, whether it's physical space, energetic space, and you remove that thing, there is now new space that was previously not there, right? So we're making this new space. And so it's recognizing that, you can effectively release what you no longer need or what's not serving you, knowing that the payoff will indeed be worth it. It feels so much better to lighten that load sometimes. Even if we're releasing something that's so comfy, so familiar, our habits, our ways of being, especially if we're talking about actual dietary changes and things, it can be really challenging. Focusing on the idea that it will surely be worth it. So there's some energy here too. Now this is talking about another one of my favorite examples is about words casting spells and spellcraft, where it talks about the art of release after raising power and how that is vital to the effectiveness of a spell. So when we are setting intentions, which we're doing here at the new moon, when we're wishing and bringing in new things, we're casting these spells, we have this opportunity to raise the power of the intention in order to increase its effectiveness. So, it asks the question, if we were to raise the power without sending it out into the universe or in a focused way, it will just get stuck. It remains stagnant. It doesn't go anywhere. And so that's where it can cause the feeling of overwhelm. So that's really interesting. So that's saying, we make all these wishes, we have all this stuff, but it doesn't go anywhere. Then it just sits there like a lump, and it doesn't progress. And so we're keeping things moving by setting that intention and putting an effective step behind it to give it power, to propel it forward in a way, is what I'm getting there. So, as we look at the energies of Virgo and Virgo's season, in and around this new moon period, but certainly beyond, we look at, again, the symbol of the Virgin Goddess, and that being a symbol of independence and wholeness, and that the energy of the Virgin Goddess is treating your body as an extension of nature, which means tuning in with the rhythms and seasons and making well-being a top priority. And again, I'm sitting here, I'm not only the club president, but I'm also a client, okay? Bonus points from what that's from. That was a shameless commercial reference. But I'm saying that this is something I'm struggling with and working through myself, attending to my well-being within my body. I shared that I, am anemic, that I just finished 2 rounds of iron infusions, and I'm definitely starting to feel better. I'm going through like a weird withdrawal from ice chewing. Speaking of what are you nourishing yourself? I mean, the amount of ice that was in my daily diet was not good for anything. But at the same time, I miss it. That was like this oral fixation thing that I did that I no longer crave doing. And so I'm going through this weird period of letting that go, but not wanting to replace that void with something unhealthy. And yes, in a dietary way, because if I'm not eating ice, the very calorie, nutrient-free ice, to something else that may not be very healthy for me, that's, one trade-off for another issue. So I'm navigating that myself, but also wanting to keep the momentum going of taking some small steps that I needed to. I didn't want to. And I have a million excuses for why I couldn't make time to even make the phone call to get the lab work done, or the fact that the hospital that I have to go to is like 45 minutes away, both ways, traffic, of stuff to do. Ain't nobody got time for this, but it had to be done. I wanted it to be done so that I can move up this ladder to the next step, take it to the next level up, as we just talked about at the full moon. So I'm with you is my point. I'm with you step by step on the ladder, and I'm feeling into this personally. And that's where the messages and guidance I'm getting come from, to be able to share with you that hopefully in some way resonates. So I'm going to go ahead and roll in now to your personal cards to help reinforce these messages for how they might be coming up for you this new moon. So let's take a look.